So today I'm going to be getting the Platinum Trophy for Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 has 44 trophies, 3 out of 10 difficulty, and takes around 20 to 30 hours to beat, but it took me 32. The game starts off in the bathroom, with the main character James Sunderland contemplating his life choices or maybe why his wife doesn't love him, but that's a conversation for later. We walk out into the town of Silent Hill and learn that James came here because he got a letter from his wife Mary, but she kinda died 3 years ago from a disease, and now James is left wondering if she could still be alive. We come across a cemetery where we meet Angela, who would be a reoccurring character and warns us that there's something wrong with Silent Hill, but it's not just the fog. So I do the smart thing and ignore her because I have plot armor. Anyways, after a bit of a walk, I found a map and got the first trophy of the game. Enjoy your stay. Shortly after, we encounter our first
What's
enemy,
up,
the
bitch?
meat sack guy, but he wouldn't be a problem because we violently beat him down with a wood plank and stomp on his head a few times, just to be sure. Then I found the radio, which I left on for my first playthrough, but if you turn it off immediately and finish the game, you get a trophy, but I went for that on a different playthrough. Moving on, I headed over to Neely's bar, where I found the jukebox machine puzzle, where you have to find the glue to repair the record, a missing button, and a coin to activate the machine, which spits out the key you need to progress to the next area, which leads into some back alleys where I get my next trophy for destroying 50 windows. Then I found the Woodside apartments for the first time, which pops a trophy. And this is where we would spend the next few hours exploring and trying to solve the coin puzzle, but let's put that on the shelf for now. The Woodside Apartments has a shit ton of doors, which is obvious, but I point this out because if you try to open locked doors 50 times, a trophy pops. And after that, I found a flashlight with a side of jump scare. Yeah, I might have shit my pants. After some time, I make it to the courtyard area where I stick my arm through these bars to get the key I need. This little menace of a kid kicks them away and then proceeds to run away laughing. But long story short, I found the keys, and shortly after, I found a pistol to defend myself with, and I intend to because it's my God-given right. Anyways, I spent a while exploring, looking for coins and looting until I came across Eddie, who looks like he had a rough night because I think he was shitting and puking at the same time, but he seemed like a nice guy. I also saw the dead body in the fridge, and yeah, that's a sight to behold. So after that splendid conversation with Eddie, I found the last coin for the puzzle laying out by the pool area, which I picked up and then headed back to said puzzle, which I spent way too long trying to figure out because I'm a bit brain dead, and ended up googling it to receive the key to room 201, where I found a scary looking red door, and apparently scary things come in pairs because Pyramid Head was also here. So I hid in the closet like your dad. Anyways, Pyramid Head decided to show me his new TikTok dance, but James wasn't impressed, so he shot him in the head repeatedly, and Pyramid Head respected that and straight up left. So after that, I went through the red door for another trophy. And if you're wondering why it's called Otherworldly, it's because when you go through the red door, it transports you to an alternate dimension, or reality I guess, kind of like a Marvel movie. Man, all this multiverse stuff is damn confusing. Anyways, we meet up with Angela again, who's acting like James McAvoy and Split with 20 different personalities. She's got a depressed version, an angry version, and a stabby version, but thankfully she ended up dropping the knife and I yoinked it before she changed her mind. But after that, nothing interesting happened for a while. I just kept progressing the story. After some time, I was at the end of the Otherworld apartments section, about to leave, and there he was. Pyramid Head himself ready to slap my cheeks in this epic 1v1 boss fight. He ended up killing me once due to my own stupidity. When the sirens start playing, he stands still, and I had the bright idea to go and smack him, but he just clobbered me instantly. Then I realized you just have to wait until a cutscene plays, and he just leaves, which gave us a trophy. Moving on, I was finally outside in the fresh air and ran into this little menace who called us, and I quote, a big dum-dum. So James gave her a stern talking to, but she just ran away. Shortly after, we entered Rosewater Park, where James would get to meet Maria, who he mistakes for Mary, and we get to talking about how the letter said Mary would be waiting in their special place, and Maria says she knows a spot, so we go with her, but not before getting a story-related trophy. I then followed Maria for a while. I upgraded my wood plank for a metal pipe, and in the end, the special place Maria was talking about is a strip club. Just kidding, that was just a detour, and the real place was this park with a cool statue. Once we got through all the cutscenes, our next stop would be the movie theater, where we find Eddie, who is here with Laura, watching Frozen 2. However, Laura makes a run for it, so we pursue the little menace, who runs into Brookhaven Hospital, which pops a trophy. I would spend the next few hours of my playthrough doing the usual stuff, like progressing the story and doing puzzles, which the hospital has plenty of. So nothing really exciting happened here other than getting the shotgun and a trophy for killing 75 enemies with melee weapons. Towards the end, things would start to spice up. I was on the roof doing my thing, minding my own business, until I walked out the door into a pyramid head jump scare, and James gets thrown with ease down this hole into a new hell with someone way worse waiting for me, Laura. I don't know why this kid hates me so much, that she locks me in a room with a guy called Flesh Lips, who is actually a boss fight, and when you kill him, you get a trophy. The next area is the hospital Otherworld, and I'm mostly gonna skip this area because there's no trophies, it's just progressing the story up until the end where you're with the Maria running away from Pyramid Head, but unfortunately for her, Maria gets impaled by the Giga Chad himself, and we end this area with a trophy. After that, we were thrown into the west side of South Vale, where I had to continue chasing the child, but I also ran into Angela again, who, long story short, is still insane. Oh, and before I forget, we also roleplayed Dr. Disrespect, meeting a minor in real life. Moving on, I entered the Historical Society, which is home to the longest stairway in Silent Hill, coming in with a time of 1 whole minute to go down, and when you eventually get to the bottom, you get a trophy. Then shortly after, I got another trophy for killing 75 enemies with ranged weapons. Additionally, James goes even deeper into this area where he comes upon Eddie, who's in the company of a dead guy which he claims he shot in self-defense, but upon further review, Eddie says he killed him because of the way he looked at him, so I quickly pretended to be blind and he left. Continuing on, we were now in Toluca Prison, where we had to find a bunch of these different weights that you would bring to the scale that would open up different doors. While I was doing that, I got a trophy for killing 1 enemy with every weapon. And that would be the last trophy I would get in Toluca Prison, so I'm gonna skip the boring stuff and go straight to the end, which had us find Angela, who was apparently hiding from her daddy, and once you kill him, you get a trophy. The game then introduced me to my least favorite area, being the labyrinth. But before I get into that, there's a cutscene that shows Maria, who looks to be alive and well. So getting back to the labyrinth, this area was hell. I can't tell you how many times I got lost and how long it took me to beat, but at least there were 2 trophies to cure my pain. Firstly, this trophy is for finding Pyramid Head's bedroom where he plays Fortnite. And the second one is for finishing 50 enemies off with a stomp attack. Once you've completed the labyrinth and watched a cutscene, it's time for the Eddie boss fight. Eddie has completely lost it, he's gone 100% crazy and starts talking smack. So James does the only thing you could do when someone's pointing a magnum at your head. He clocks him with a right hook so good, I thought I was watching an Alex Pereira fight. Fighting Eddie isn't too hard. In the end, he ends up taking a bullet center mass, and that's the end of that guy, along with a trophy. After that, it was time to hop in the boat to cross to Toluca Lake, which does have a trophy I forgot to get, but we'll go for that in the second playthrough. However, shortly after, you get a trophy for reaching Lakeview Hotel. So it was at this point in the game we finally catch up with Laura, who gives us a letter from Mary that is basically a goodbye letter, which reveals some things like why Laura doesn't like James, because she thinks he's not nice to Mary, and also disproves one of my theories that Laura was our daughter. Lakeview Hotel was another one of those areas where you just kill enemies, progress the story, and do puzzles. The main puzzle being you had to find 3 statues that you would bring back to the music machine in the lobby, but aside from that, you do get 1 random trophy for interacting with the bread, which is kind of funny. At this point, I had finally got all the statues to fix the music machine thing, which upon completing rewards you with the key to corridor 3F, which means I can finally get into room 312, which gave us another trophy. We sit down and watch a tape of Mary, and James finally comes to term that she died, or so I thought, until he hears her voice on the radio, which only leads him further down the rabbit hole. If you didn't know, this area kinda acts as the start of the Endgame, so this is where we start to wrap up the story, beginning with Angela, and I honestly think this might be one of my favorite cutscenes in the game. Like, this one just gives me goosebumps. Angela can't seem to overcome her past, and James won't give up trying to save her. After that cutscene, we're left to sort out our own demons, being two pyramid heads I have to fight, but in the end, they end up killing themselves because they represent James's guilt and self-hatred he feels for killing Mary, so that renders them obsolete. In the final big cutscene, James reunites with Mary, but realizes he has to stop pretending, and that he has to let go of her, which she doesn't like, and turns into the final boss. 3 phases later, and we finally kill Mary and get a trophy. Afterwards, we see James confronting a dying Mary, where he tells her he wanted his life back, and she leaves us with a letter, which is her saying how sad she is, why James never visited her, and basically just a goodbye. The game ends with James and Laura leaving Silent Hill alongside one final trophy for getting the leave ending. Now it's time to begin the cleanup. I started off with one easy trophy I missed, being for trying to leave Silent Hill at the start of the game, and make sure you walk down the road far enough or it won't pop. Next, I made sure to pick up the chainsaw on New Game Plus, which unlocks a trophy. Then I went to Pete's Bowlerama to find and interact with the pizza for a trophy. After that, I headed over to the motel to discover the secret of room 106. At this point, I was feeling a bit exhausted, so I went to Toluca Lake to sit on a boat for 10 real-life minutes for a trophy. And that was about all I could get on my second playthrough, so I finished the game with quite a few trophies. Firstly, for beating the game in under 10 hours. Secondly, for beating the game on New Game Plus. Then another trophy for finishing the game without killing enemies using ranged weapons. And a similar one for beating the game without using the radio. I was able to reload my save to get all the alternate endings, which I'll speedrun through, starting with the dog ending, which was quite random, but also funny. Then the UFO ending, followed by the rebirth ending. After that was the in water ending. And the last one was the Maria ending, which was apparently the hardest out of all of them, but I just followed a guide from PowerPix and I got it first try. But that's not all, because you also get a trophy for seeing all the classic endings. However, after I got all those trophies, I had to do a third playthrough, which isn't the optimal way to do it, but I did my first playthrough just for fun, so I left this last run for one random trophy I missed, and all the collectible trophies. The random trophy was just for shooting the 11 balloons spelling out "Welcome Home." And finally, let's talk about the collectibles. I found old glimpses of the past, memos, and strange photos which you have to collect in one playthrough for 3 different trophies. And it was about time I finally unlocked the Platinum Trophy.